welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, how are you today?
Doing well, Cynthia. How about you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking, and I'm always excited to be in the studio with you.
Well, we have a good time, that's for sure.
We do.
People don't get to see all the fun we have offline, but we have a pretty good time before the show and after.
We do, and for those folks at home that don't know this, Tim is actually hilarious. He has the best sense of humor. He's constantly making me laugh, and I just enjoy time with you, so thank you so much.
The same for you, and I get to share the desk with somebody who is a former Mrs. America and Mrs. Ohio, so I think we have fun.
We do have fun. Yes, those Ohio roots, they are deep. They are deeply embedded, so thank you so much for having me as your co-host. You know, obviously, Tim, with our show being so popular in Dayton and a lot of the phone calls that come in, we're really resonating with a lot of folks that are out there right now. They're all thinking about the same things. They're worried about what the future may hold. But you're very passionate about saying something specifically, which we've talked about before the show started, how you cannot have paralysis by analysis. And let's talk about what that is exactly and why retirees shouldn't stand still.
Well, Cynthia, it's fear. And, you know, listen, we understand. We're not here today without understanding how you feel at home right now. You're seeing the prices go up at the gas pump. You're watching the news. They're telling you the end of the world's coming. But remember, this isn't the first time they've said that, and the world is still spinning, right? And so as we think about, you know, fear, what does it do to us? It is, you know, we have a tendency to just bury our head in the sand and to think, you know what, I'm going to worry about this another time. And it seems like the worse things get, the more we fall into that paralysis by analysis, where we say, you know what, it's so bad, I'm not even going to look at it, and that's a mistake. I mean, you can't fix something unless you try and fix it. And so, you know, we talk a lot on the show about planning and developing a plan, and we built the Retirement Blueprint as a tool for people here in Dayton to be able to get a hold of all things retirement and put a plan together that's going to last. It's helping them to navigate to and through retirement. It's allowing us to do life together with our clients. Absolutely.
And Tim, we've had such great phone calls with the Recession Ready show. People were calling in right and left, and they really wanted to have further information. And I just want to recap. We talked about the basic financial planning, and basically what's so important is to have an emergency fund, live within your means, but also another thing that people were calling in about that they wanted you to explain a little bit more in detail would be how to invest for the long term and diversify. A lot of calls came in on that one.
And I think, you know, and it's interesting that people were talking about investing for the long term because they seem to be very worried about right now. And that's not a long-term view, right? But yet it's still a thought process of, you know, maybe what I'm doing is wrong, and maybe getting a second opinion, because a lot of times what we're hearing from people coming into our office is that, you know, I've talked to my investment person, they're just telling me to hang tight and it's all going to be okay. And you know what? That may be true. But it also may not. We've had multiple people that have come in that when we looked at the amount of risk that they were taking, when they sat down with our financial management team that does our wealth management part in the office, they said, listen, you know, you said your risk is over here, but your investments show your risk over here. It's a completely different level. In fact, you know, one of the things that we've added, you know, is that QR code at the bottom of the screen, Cynthia, and they can, from right now on your couch, you can actually click on that QR code right here at the bottom of the screen, and you are able to go to a landing page that will give you a quick 6-question questionnaire that you can fill out. Also, there's a link to the website that you can go and find out what your risk score is. So if you're wondering, if you're sitting at home right now saying, I don't know what my risk score is. Take this opportunity. You can literally do it from your couch. It doesn't get any easier than that.
Absolutely. In fact, in the comfort of your own home, having a cup of coffee, you can schedule time with you,
Right.
which I think is perfect.
Yeah, we can all have a cup of coffee together.
Which is perfect.
Which is great, right?
I love that. Well, Tim, obviously talking about such important things about being prepared for the recession, if you will. Taxes. Whoa, that's another thing that people are calling in about. They want to get your opinion on where you think taxes are going in the future and how they can be prepared.
Well, I mean, as we look at the tax environment that we're in and have been in for a long time, we've had extremely low tax rates, we've had extremely low interest rates, and almost non-existent inflation. And so as this small snowball starts to roll down the hill and get bigger and bigger, where we're seeing inflation now come into play and slowly erode our purchasing power, where we start to think about taxes potentially going up, and probably the biggest thing out there of the why would they raise taxes on America is our debt. I mean, we have printed money for so long, getting through the pandemic, trying to keep the economy afloat. At some point, that credit card is going to have to be paid off. And as we look at, what that number is, and it's got so many zeros and commas now, I don't even know if I had to draw out the number that we actually owe. I don't know if I could do it.
You'd probably run out of ink.
Run out of ink. And so how do you pay that off? Well, the only way that they can pay it off is to spend less and to raise taxes.
Yeah.
And they're not spending less right now. So, raising taxes is a probable event. And so we have to be prepared for that, because if we are making the same amount of money but taxes go up, we're bringing home less. Same thing with inflation, right?
Absolutely.
If costs of milk increase and I've got to still buy milk, then I'm going to have less money at the end of the month because of it. And so these things are all interconnected, and we're starting to see all of them kind of come into play. Usually we're just talking maybe about inflation or maybe about taxes. All of it is coming into play now, and it very much impacts a plan as we look out at 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in putting together those calculations.
Well, Tim, I know that you don't want people just to sit still right now. So let's talk a little bit about that special offer that you have for the viewers at home and how they can get a hold of you.
If you are right now thinking, you know what, that paralysis by analysis, that's me, I get it. I understand. Fear will make you not act. This is your opportunity. Right now, you're watching the show, you're sitting, probably drinking a cup of coffee in your PJs. Take this opportunity. What do you have to lose? Click on that QR code, set up a time to come in and meet with us. It's complimentary. Worst case scenario is we buy you a cup of coffee, you get to meet me in person, we get to hear a little bit about you and your family and your story, and see if we can't help impact your future 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now with the retirement blueprint.
Tim, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen. That number is 855-684-3485. We know that you have a lot of questions for Tim. Perhaps you're wondering what the future will bring and if you're going to be prepared for a successful retirement. He is offering you the opportunity to call in and to come into the office. The number, once again, 855-684-3485. Grab your smartphone, click on that QR code. That'll take you right to Tim's landing page. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. If you're concerned about a market volatility situation, Tim has some advice for you. You're not going to want to miss what he has to say. Stay tuned.
Unexpected events, like a global pandemic, can turn our world upside down overnight. They can cause volatile shifts that may cause you to question the confidence in your current retirement plan. As a retiree or a pre-retiree, knowing you have a plan that can withstand the worst economic conditions is vital. Contact us today for a complimentary review. Get a second opinion and learn more about our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
And welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, a wonderful show we're having today, again talking about being ready for retirement, being recession ready, if you will. And this next topic I want to bring up is market volatility, because wow, you have some really good nuggets of advice and guidance to give to the viewers at home. So let me just ask you, if people are at home in their pajamas having a cup of coffee and they're nervous about market volatility, what can they do?
Well, you know, I think this is a very important topic right now, because this is the thing that people are calling in about.
Yeah.
Is, you know, what do we do? How do we get through this? You know, and as we look across at all the different indexes, we see, you know, the stock market down 20% plus. We see the bond market down 20% plus. For those people that thought that they could make a bunch of money in crypto, it was down 50-60%, right? And so there was no place to hide. And so, you know, the question comes up, what do we do? You know, what do we, in a time like this, what are some of the solutions? And so one of the things that we've really seen as an opportunity right now are fixed rates. And we haven't said that for probably 10 or 15 years.
Right.
But fixed rates have finally started to come up. And I think we have a slide right now we can show the audience at home. The fixed rates right now on MYGAs, which work similar to a CD, you know, are up to as high as 5% plus on a 7-year rate. You know, we haven't seen rates like this in decades. I mean, so that is one opportunity for the people that have, you know, that safe money, the money under the mattress, or maybe you've built up savings and you're scared to death to put it at risk in the market, but you still want to get a good rate. This is a great opportunity where you can earn a rate that's guaranteed and also get a little bit of growth out of those dollars.
Absolutely.
Certainly better than the mattress, right?
Absolutely. Let me also ask you about jumping in and out of the market. What about people who are seeing what they're watching right now on TV? They realize that the market has shifted. What do you say to those people that say, you know what, I'm scared, I'm going to pull it all out?
Well, before the show, we just had a client call, and they were wondering, you know, should I go to cash? Should I limit my losses? And you know, the response, because they were actually talking to one of the guys on our wealth management team, and Matt said no. He said, look what happened today. And like literally today, before the show, the market had jumped like 6% in one day. And so timing the market, and I hear this from our wealth management team every day, is dangerous business. You know, we don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen. Could things get worse? Absolutely. Could things get a lot better? Yes. And so it's a matter of weighing and looking at your plan. The money that should be at risk, that we're even concerned about right now, shouldn't be attached to your income. And that's one of those nuggets that you were talking about with this segment right here, is that you have to give your money jobs. The money that you have put aside that's going to generate income really can't have volatility attached to it. And so if you give those dollars into a bucket that's their job, the other bucket that you free up allows for volatility. It allows that long-term growth outlook, even if you're in your 60s, even if you're in your 70s, because again, if things are going haywire right now, you're not left wondering, well, what's this going to do to my lifestyle? How is this going to impact what I do on a daily basis? That's very, very important. And I know we talk about that on the show a lot, but every week we have people coming in with the same story. They have everything in one bucket, and it's diversified, or at least that's what they're told, but they still have the money that has to produce income at risk. And that's a slippery slope, and I think people are experiencing that now. I think that's the result. You know, a lot of this fear is coming from the fact that they're seeing part of the nest egg that has to generate income actually decline, and they're worried about it, and understandably so.
Sure. So you have a situation where, in my mind, I'm envisioning 3 buckets. You should have a bucket for growth, a bucket for your everyday expenses and needs, and then I would say a sleep well at night bucket as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the rates that we just showed up on the screen, that's safety money,
Okay.
right? That's not money that it can go down in value. Same thing with the income bucket. The income bucket, a lot of times we're using like an indexed annuity, for example, and I know that's always one of those words people are like, oh, annuities are bad. Well, annuities aren't bad if you decide that you like the results of the product, right? If you want something that has that 5 to 7, 6 to 8% growth rate with no market downside, and if it's just growth and you don't need income, there's not even an internal cost to it, then you can not like annuities, but you just described the exact product that you want to own.
Right.
And so as we focus on, giving the money jobs, the job of the money will describe what you should own with it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. And as you were talking about that, it reminded me of how powerful the media is, because obviously people have a negative idea about annuities because there was the commercial that said, I hate annuities and you should too. Why was that even a commercial, Tim?
Well, again, the media in general, and I think of Susie Orman. Hopefully she doesn't sue me, but but I think
put a disclaimer.
Yeah, we'll put a disclaimer. Susie Orman wrote a book on annuities. Why did she write a book about annuities? Because annuities are the largest held investment in the United States. And so if I want to sell books and I write about something that I say maybe people should think twice about owning, and then I go on national television on CNBC and say, hey, this is bad, I'm going to sell more books. So you have to remember, when you're watching the news, it's about money. They're trying to increase viewership, and they increase viewership a lot of times through fear and through, putting things out there that could possibly happen. And, we lock into those and we stay tuned. I mean, my mom watches Fox News like it's going out of style. And I'm like, Mom, there's the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're watching it. She's like, well, I learned so much. I'm like, do you? Do you really?
Yeah, is it good?
Are you learning something good? I mean, I understand the entertainment value, but, they're selling advertising.
Yep.
I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's what TV is about, is selling advertising.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Tim, I know there's a very special offer that we're going to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we reopen the phone lines.
If what we're talking about today has resonated with you, if you've locked on to a concern about taxes, a concern about inflation, market volatility, if those are things that you're worried about, this is your opportunity to talk to somebody about those concerns. All you have to do is pick up that smartphone. You can click on our QR code right there at the bottom of the screen. You can set up a complimentary appointment, and we will spend time getting to know you, getting to know what you're worried about, talking about those fears that we've talked about on today's show, but helping you navigate those with real solutions, with good ideas, good alternatives to what you're maybe currently doing, and give you a fresh look and a second opinion.
Tim, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen. That number is 855-684-3485. Remember, we also have that handy-dandy QR code in the bottom corner of your screen. Go ahead, grab your smartphone, click on that. It'll take you right to Tim's landing page. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I want to talk to Tim a little bit more in detail about how his firm helps to handle market volatility and risk. Stay tuned for his response.
Retirement is about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a plan to get there. That's why I created the Retirement Blueprint. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. Come learn how our team can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. We're here to do life with you and share your journey. Let us blueprint your life to keep you on track to make sure you get the most out of retirement. Are you on the road to success? Call us today for a complimentary review to find out. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
And And welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, a great show we're having today, talking about such important topics that people are very concerned about, of course, the recession and how to plan for that. And a lot of people in the viewing audience are probably talking amongst themselves at home, and they're wondering, how does your firm specifically help to handle times that are market volatility, that are risky? What advice do you have for those folks? How does your firm handle that? There's the English version.
Well, that's a great question, Cynthia. We have, different teams within our firm, and, our wealth management team, and that's not me. I'm not the wealth management guy. Our wealth management team is really, really good at this because they spend a lot of time on research and looking at history, looking at trends. And so, I have a lot of faith in what they do because of the results that they've gotten over such a long period of time. But the thing that always resonates to me when they're talking about, clients and the difference that they make in clients' lives, one of the things they talk about a lot is controlling what you can control, right? Okay. I mean, for example, cost. And I know cost is one of those kind of taboo subjects, and certainly, anytime somebody comes in, that, one of their first questions is, well, what's all this going to cost? Yeah. And so cost is relative in that, if the value you're receiving is more than the cost of it, then it's a good deal. And if it's not, it's not. And so, one of the things that our wealth management team does when they sit down with a client is they walk them through the different areas and the different things that they can offer them as far as solutions, but they spend a lot of time explaining to them what the cost of those are going to be. And I think that that's missed a lot of times because we hear all the time that, listen, my person never told me what this was going to cost, or, I'm working with an advisor and it seems like the fees are hidden somehow. Or they even sometimes will come in and they think, this is all free. I hear that a lot with 401k plans. It's like, well, we have our 401k through work because there's no cost to it. It's like, well, there is a cost. I mean, it's less than maybe you would pay someplace else, but there's still a cost. So controlling what you control is the first part. Okay. Recognizing what you can't control is the second, and that is understanding that things are going to go up and down. And so if someone is taking risk, and with risk comes volatility, and with volatility that works both ways. Everybody loves the volatility where things go up. Not everybody is crazy about the volatility we're seeing today when things go down. But recognizing that volatility and then remembering if your plan was done properly, that volatility only pertains to your growth bucket. And I know we talk about our buckets a lot on this show, the 3 buckets, and remembering that the income bucket, the amount of money that you have set aside that has to produce income either monthly or quarterly for you to live on, that can't have volatility associated with it. And usually it's one of the least expensive places for you to have your money invested because there's very low cost typically in that bucket. On the growth bucket side, worrying about volatility is a real thing, but then you have to have that perspective. I'm only worried about it right now. Yeah. In my long-term view, in my long-term plan, this is going to be fine. Everything's going to work out eventually, and that volatility is not impacting my lifestyle. And if you can answer the questions that way, I don't think people have to be all that concerned. Having said that, the media stirs it up a little bit. Of course. I understand if people are afraid right now. Yeah. I totally get it. But my point is that if you do have things in the right buckets, it alleviates a lot of those fears when you're reminded of that.
Absolutely. Something else that I've heard you say before, Tim, which I love, let's talk about this. Don't forget history.
Right. And that is so important. We have, so much history to look at through all kinds of financial crises, through wars, through recessions, through economic events that are sometimes one-off and sometimes been repeated. But the thing that we see most is through all of those times, we see average returns basically stay the same. And so we have the ups and downs, and we see those averages still work out even through the worst of times. And so when we bring history into the volatility conversation, I think it feels a little bit like a warm blanket that you kind of wrap around yourself, and you're like, all right, this feels bad now. I'll have a cold, but I'm going to eat my soup and everything's eventually going to be fine. And that's really kind of the way that our markets and our economy are resilient. They really are.
I think what I'm hearing you say, Tim, is don't panic. Block out the noise and remember that the stock market and just everything that we're going through is kind of like a roller coaster that's going to go up and down. And the important thing is that you stay on the ride.
If you have a plan in place.
Okay.
So that all works, but it only works if you have that plan in place. And so burying your head in the sand and, riding it out only works if the plan that you had designed for you was built to withstand that. And a lot of times they're not. That's why a second opinion is so important. Get a fresh set of eyes. Let our wealth management team take a look at what you're doing. They'll tell you. If I've sat through so many meetings where they're like, you know what? You guys are good right where you are. Things are okay. They're not afraid to tell you that. And if they're not, wouldn't you want to know?
Of course, you'd want to know today. So what I'm hearing you also say is if you've been working with someone who specializes in the accumulation years of life, you really need to be looking at someone that looks at the distribution phase of life, correct? And that would be a good second opinion.
It is, and I think, that gets lost a lot of times that, we can't keep doing the same things that got us to retirement in retirement because it's a different process. We have a very different set of needs, a very different set of risks, and we must be very intentional about how we approach that. And so, a lot of times when we look at the things that worked to get us to retirement, they involved a lot more risk and a lot more volatility than what we can sustain in retirement because of the needs that we have for the money that we've set aside.
Thank you, Tim. We only have about a minute and 15 seconds left of the show this week. I know you have a very special offer. Let's talk about what that is before we say goodbye to Dayton.
Okay. Dayton, all I'm asking you is this. If what we talked about on the show today has got you thinking, or more importantly, if we've talked about some fears that you're struggling with right now, get a second opinion. You have nothing to lose. Take your smartphone, click on the QR code, set an appointment with us. It's complimentary, and let us help you navigate to and through retirement.
Tim, thank you so very much. To the viewers at home, most specifically, we would like to thank you for spending time with us today. That number to call once again is 855-684-3485. If you have your smartphone, go ahead, grab it, click on that QR code in the bottom corner of your screen. That's going to take you right to Tim's landing page. You can set an appointment with him without leaving the comfort of your home. Again, thank you for spending time with us today. The number to call is 855-684-3485. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed, Dayton. We'll see you back here 1 week from today on the Retirement Blueprint Show. Thank you.